So the beta is almost upon us. Obviously, the developers did a little bit of an update video which we've already looked at, talking about how they've kind of improved the gacha and how they've moved something that was part of the gacha into something that is now farmable in game, which is again fantastic news if you're if you're going to be free to play about it. That's one less thing to worry about. So huge W on that part, of course. But prior to all of that, obviously, as I've spoken about, in terms of the game's release, Holification Ichigo. He's an absolute beast of character. He's a nuker in terms of when he, when he drops his ult and he goes into that holification state, pretty much just destroys anything to everything in his path. Right? It is broken to an absolute T. And so, if you are able to support the man, then of course the results are going to be even bigger. Now, we've already spoken about how Yachiru is the battlefield user for his team, and then the remaining spot that is left is the support spot, of course. Now, obviously, from the previous beta that we've played, I've done videos on it. You guys can go back and check. Of course, I've utilized the Ichigo team, as you could say, or the slash team, the red team, call it as you will, and it worked like an absolute charm. Now, prior to all of that, during the alpha, the best support in the game was Urahara, of course, and he was a blue typing, and they decided to be like, let's change it, let's put him in red typing. And so things got even more crazier with the best support now supporting Holification Ichigo, of course. So that's kind of where we're at right now in terms of the best support coming in clutch and supporting the red team, where Ichigo is just going to be even more of a monster than to what he already is. So to give you guys a little bit of more of an in-depth look on what we're looking at here when it comes to Urahara, so his core passive, so when each use of Urahara's special attack, technique, ultimate, or counter attack grants one stack of ratio analysis to the team, each stack increases the team's attack by 10% for 15 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. Now, of course, this isn't bound to slash typing, so obviously with this Urahara you can get the usage on kind of applying him with other characters if you want to mix and match. That's also a nice little positive, and why this unit is kind of granted as the best support in the goddamn game. But again, more for the red typing. But in this case, it's easy to get that 30% because you can stack it up 3 times. You can get that 30% attack easily, because the special attack or the special technique that he applies, you can apply 2 of those, so you can basically get 2 stacks pretty much immediately. If you link that up with the ultimate, or even, even with the skill. So Urahara, when it comes to his core passive, easily accessible. It's so easy. So that's also a huge W. In terms of his technique, which is very nice in terms of kind of having crowd control, keeping a team or keeping enemies kind of grouped together. So in that case, you can really maximize, in this case, Ichigo's holification barrage of attacks. So pretty much Urahara throws a portable Giga forward and immediately falls back, gaining a stack of spiritual pressure reserve. The portable Giga will taunt enemies within a large area and explode in 6 seconds, dealing damage equal to 230%. So nice little taunt, enemy control, kind of groups them up in one area, so that way you can kind of go about doing your attacks. The awesome thing about this attack is when you do apply it, and as the enemies kind of grouping up together and going for the dummy, Urahara actually does run a little bit back, and then from that you can actually do your special technique. So hence why, going back to that core passive, it's so easy to get, so just nice little chip damage, and then once you got your extra percentages coming in, bring in Ichigo, you got the extra 30% coming your way, 20% minimum, and then they're all grouped up. Ichigo comes in. It's pretty much a GG right there. And then the ultimate, Urahara will fire a spiritual power bullet at the enemy, dealing 750. Not too bad. However, this is where things get juicy. Then increases the team's critical damage by the amount equal to the fixed 50% plus 50% of Urahara's crit damage for 25 seconds. So that, again, this isn't bound to red typing. So this is why I say, in terms of support characters that are universal, this is why everyone grants Urahara the best support in the game. Even if you do start your game and you pull this man, you can comfortably get through the content. You can rely on the SR DPS characters, because the buffs that Urahara does provide, it's disgusting. So that, again, that's just me going over the ultimate, the technique, the passive. Again, I've done a whole video looking into this, man. You're more than welcome to go check it out. But just to give you guys like this small premise on what this unit is producing and why he's kind of granted the best support in the game. Just kind of gives you a bit of a rough idea. And again, he's not sealed behind the whole mono team building. This is you can universally use this Urahara with whoever, because there are some modes out there that won't require typing, and so it just pretty much requires, I guess, the best possible team build ever, and Urahara will practically fit all of those team builds, if I'm being completely honest. So now, I'm just going to throw this in here, so that way people are aware, you know, because I don't want people to feel like, oh, it's all doom and gloom, I got to go after Urahara if I get Ichigo. No. If in terms of the team building for Ichigo, you can rely on Yachiru, of course, the SR support specifically for the red typing. She does have certain buffs that do push more towards for the slash team, the red typing. So just to give you guys a bit of an idea, so we actually got the enhanced passive this time around, which is interesting. But if the character Yachiru grants inspiration to the slash type, so there you go, already we're getting specific monotyping support. It extends the inspiration duration by 3 next to 3.5 seconds. So the inspiration is a buff that she can apply onto the teammates, which we'll get into in just a second. If other characters already have inspiration, then Yachiru releases the ultimate, resets the duration, and increases their slash damage by 7.5. And actually, as you level up the character, as you guys see right there, then the percentage will go up. So this one, again, specifically focusing on the red typing. Does it have the core passive? We don't have the core passive. Okay, that's unfortunate. But again, just to give you guys more of an idea on what we're looking at here. Yachiru launches an enemy into the air, dealing damage of 166. Go to 186. What level is it? Oh, level 1. Okay. If she switches out within the next 3 seconds, she will enter the spectate state. So again, by doing that, you're actually buffing up your teammates. So pretty much activate this, dip out, and then when each goes in, he'll get all that damage increase. So and then of course the ultimate. So unleashes all her spiritual power, dealing damage of 207. Next is 2032. AoE grants inspiration to all teammates, increasing their slash damage by 10% for 6 seconds. If she switches out, then in the next 3 seconds, then she'll enter the spectator. So essentially, what we're getting at is once that inspiration is kind of popped off through her technique or the ultimate, right, whatever you're using, you just pretty much get her out of there. So that way you could furthermore enhance your characters or your main DPS with the spectate buff. I've already pre-looked at Yachiru, of course, on a previous video when the beta was out, of course, kind of going over a kit. So again, you're more than welcome to check all that out. But again, just further informing those in terms of going into the beta or waiting for the full release and whatnot, because of course globally everyone's going to, well, I say everyone, to those that are interested in Bleach, will be diving on in. And of course Holification Ichigo, that's probably going to be a lot of people's #1 character. So in terms of the slash team, the red team, and the teammates that he requires, Byakuya, Urahara, Yachiru, of course, that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of setting up Ichigo the right way with his team. So that's kind of predominantly what we're looking at. I understand that a lot of people are going to be probably trying re-rolling for the man, all that good stuff. Fair play, do what you please. There are some alternative battlefield users that you can rely on at the time. Obviously, it's going to be from alternative typing, but it's still usable, feasible. In that aspect, it will be Uryu, of course. And then again, people at the very beginning will probably utilize Yachiru a lot in terms of the support play, which I think is very viable. She's a fantastic slash support, and then when Urahara comes about, you can just kind of make that swap over if need be. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I wanted to go over. So in terms of prepping for Ichigo, in terms of his team, that's what we're looking at in terms of his teammates to build his team. his team. Again, the very, very, very basic team. Outside of having the non-red characters, will predominantly be Orihime and Uryu, to be honest. And they are alternative other typing, being, I think one's yellow, one's blue. I think Uryu's blue and Orihime, I think, is yellow or orange? No, orange? She's one of the two. Unless she's blue too. No, she might be blue too, I can't remember. But that's kind of like the gang. But if you really want to get head stuck in and really set up Holification Ichigo, that's what we're going to be looking at. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'll end it there. Again, we are days away from the global beta. Exciting times. And then once that is done and dusted, we are well on our way for the official launch.